So this homework's all about shape. So shape is a flat enclosed area. So it's going to be 2D and it has a length and a width. So I'm going to show you an example. So this square has a height and a width. Okay, if this was a cube, it would also have, so it would still have height, it would still have width, but it would also have depth, which is where the 3D comes in. So today we're only going to be focusing on the 2D aspect. So what is a shape? Okay, so a shape, if you look on here, is a flat enclosed area. Now, I'm going to be asking you to do two different types of shapes. So geometric shapes are things like triangles, squares, circles, and then organic shapes can be perhaps a splat, perhaps a heart that's not level, and perhaps a wave. Okay, so it's more like the shape that you're likely to see in nature. Now, I divided the page into two because I'm going to be teaching you a little bit how to use colour pencils at the same time. So the first thing we're going to focus on is just drawing some shapes on here. So I'm just going to be using my pencil. You don't have to use a ruler. Okay, it's good just to get freehand sketching. So I've just drawn a triangle, so I'm keeping it nice and light. I'm taking some example shapes off this Wassily Kandinsky at the top. Okay, or I can make up my own as well, that's okay. So I like these wiggles, so I'm going to take that all the way down that side. So that's more organic. I'm going to put another triangle, perhaps as if it's sitting on the top here. I'm going to get perhaps a rainbow shape in that bottom section, which is like so it's good to have contrast. So I'm going to try and draw a straight rectangle. So it would be good if you could get your shapes to overlap. So if you want to draw a circle, you could draw around something, or just keep your hand going and going and going like this, and you should be able to kind of build that up to make it look enough like a circle. Okay, so you might think, oh, I've got enough shapes there. It is filling the page, but I don't really want to have to colour all that shape in one colour. So what I'm going to do is perhaps draw some shapes that are in between. So I'm almost going to do this checkerboard pattern as if it's going behind, and it's not quite on the same, it's a bit more skewed, which I quite like. Could perhaps put a ball, another circle in here. Perhaps that's made that shape a little bit smaller. I might also put overlap a couple more shapes. I put a rectangle in here. I might have a couple of colours in this rainbow, so I might. Okay, so I'm quite happy. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, about 10 different shapes on here. So that would be a really good number. And if you could get them to come on top of each other, that's even better. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to check, have I got shapes with geometric and organic? So I've got a circle, which is geometric, and I've got a wave, which is organic. So I've tried to use both types, which is brilliant. So I'm going to tick that one off because I've done that one already. So I can draw a range of shapes, okay? So, you know, if you've just drawn squares, then maybe you need to vary it a little bit. But I know I've got a range of shapes here, so I can tick that one off as well. Okay, I can use colour pencil in a bold way, and I can blend from one colour to another. So this is where I need to teach you a little bit how to do pencils. So I'm actually going to use a scrap piece of paper just to cover up my drawing so that I'm not smudging my hands on it. It's all right if you're left-handed, you could probably do it. So how to use pencils. Now you've probably used pencils for years and years and years, which is great, so you'll probably be good at it already. So the first thing, I've got this pencil really sharp and I'm going to test what it's going to look like on the side. Okay, so that gives a really nice flat area of colour, quite soft as well. So I'm going to test it now, holding it a bit more like a pen, and I'm actually going to press quite hard. I suppose that's about medium pressure. Then perhaps underneath I'm going to do full pressure. So I'm going to be going over this 3 or 4 times, and you can kind of see the different effects you get with each. So this technique here is called burnishing. So none of the paper is showing through, whereas here we've got a little bit of paper and you can kind of see the texture of the paper here. So it would be really good to get a variety from the very soft, putting the pencil on the side, and just have a practice. If you've drawn a line down here as well, you can have a little practice, or practice on another sheet of paper. And you could practice going from that hard pressure, that really vibrant blue, all the way like you did with an ordinary pencil, trying to get the medium tones and then the light tones, and then you can do that on your design. So I'm going to test my yellow on the side. So I might need to press a bit harder for the yellow to actually stand out. And again, can you see I'm going over and over it? So it's not just one layer. This time I'm going to test a bit of hatching. You can still use hatching. Now I'm going to give myself a bit of a challenge. So I am going to go from orange to yellow in a gradient. So I know I need to get softer and softer and softer, so that when I bring this yellow in from this side, they will kind of merge together and blend on top of each other. So you can put the lighter colour on top of the darker colour, but you just need to make sure if you're doing it the other way that you don't press so hard. So it's really good to be able to get from one colour into another colour. Now I would say you do need to use a bit of a dark colour, so black or dark blue or dark purple, just to give your colours a little bit of contrast. Okay, now I'm probably going to speed this video up, so I'm just going to do a little part at the moment just to show you how it looks, but I want this full shape in full colour. Okay, so if you need to break up some of these to make it a bit more interesting, you can do that perhaps before you start. So you're showing that you can overlap shapes and you can use colour in a varied way. define that line just a little bit more. So you can see how just that little touch has just brought that out. Okay, now if you want to use this side just to have a go at, you know, some practices, some different effects, that's absolutely fine. Okay, so the final stage of the homework is just to look at the bottom section to see what we've done. So I've used colour pencil in a bold way. So what I mean by bold is it looks very vibrant. Okay, so you pressed quite hard, the colour is rich and it stands out. I can blend from one colour to another colour using pencils. So just showing like here and here that you've blended between different colours. Okay, so typical things where people might fall down is not doing enough shapes and not filling up that space. So the colour should literally be the full rectangle. Okay, so not just a little part in the middle, it needs to be the full rectangle. And I need to colour more neatly. So we need to just talk about craftsmanship. So craftsmanship is where, so if I just have a shape, if you were going to go out of the lines like this, that's not very good craftsmanship. Okay, so you need to try and stay within the lines to make it neater, and perhaps just press a little bit harder on that edge just to kind of define that shape. Okay, now when you're using colour pencils, this is not going to be enough. So that is one layer of pencil. Okay, so you need to do a minimum of 2 to 3 layers in different directions, and that's going to make the colour be a little bit more bold, and it's going to make it so you can't see which direction you shaded in. Okay, that's going to look a lot better. So we do need to work on craftsmanship and accuracy, because that's going to help you with a lot of things in the future. Okay, so each shape on here is well defined. I've used lots of the different techniques. I've pressed harder, I've pressed softer, I've made some lines, I've made some blending, and I've filled that space up. So I can't wait to see what you produce next lesson.